How's it going, guys? This is Crash with CrashVapes.com. I've got in front of me today the Orion version 2.1. I picked this unit up a couple days ago, as some of you have probably seen on the last post I made, and I've been using it for a few days, and I have to say that for me, this is one of the best mods I've used. Really enjoy vaping on it. I like carrying it. I like the feel of it. I like the button placement for the button, and pretty much everything else about it is just great. So what I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to take it apart. I've already got it halfway stripped down. This one, as you know, has the electronic switch in it, and you can remove the switch and put it back together. So I figured for a first time for me, I'm going to do that just so I can see the inside of it. And if you have one of these and have been needing to take it apart to do any kind of resealing or something, this will be probably a great way for you to do it, since it's going to be my first time doing it, and it could have been, or maybe your first time as well. So I'm going to angle down here on the camera, get this all focused in, and start taking it apart. All right, let's see if we can get the camera to focus. I'm going to turn off autofocus once it does. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, I have over here the two screws that go on the top where the coils can be connected. And then I've got the 18650 tube, the bottom cap, and then on the far side over here, got the mouthpiece, top cap. I've got the three batteries that I've used in this. The 18350 non-protected cell, a 18650 non-protected cell, and I've got this MarsFire 18650 protected cell. Here's the glass that comes with it, or at least it came on this unit when I got it. And then my favorite juice over here, the Freedom Smoke USA Max Blend. We'll move some of the stuff aside here and start taking the unit itself apart. So inside this, there is a switch. As you know, it is an electronic switch. It says Orion and No Smoker on there, who is the guy that you can purchase this from if you are unaware of that. He is over on the vaporwall.com, and then I believe he's also on ukvapors.com. So without any further ado, let's just kind of take it apart. On the top, you have a single nut, two washers, a spring, and then another nut. So for this top one, just take that off. There you have your two washers and your nut. There's a spring, which doesn't seem to be directional, although on the bottom you can see it was cut off, so I'm going to make sure I put that same side down, which probably can't tell in the video. Oh yeah, there you go. Kind of see it there. So that, and then I found this out of my toolbox. It's a 5/32, which isn't the exact size because this is metric, but it does fit on there. So we'll unscrew it. Got it started. I use my finger to pull it off the rest of the way. A little tight right there on the top. All right, so there's that. Now in theory, from everything I've read, this should just kind of slide out. Now the button, I'm going to put the button face down so it doesn't go flying out, and push on it. It is very tight in there for some reason. Maybe that's just the silicone. I'll try pulling this little top cap off. I'll pull that guy out, the little top piece. I know that he puts O-rings in the inside here. Oh yeah, there we go. So I just pushed on it. Now you might need a little punch. I've got this little tool here that I use. Just push it through, and there we go. I got a switch out. All right, so there you have it. And there's the button, and this does seem to have a nice silicone all the way around it, and it looks like there's also some ultra black or something of the sort down at the bottom. Autofocus again, let it zoom in on this. Instead, it's going to zoom in on my hand. There we go. So there's the switch. There's your fire button. Now there's some threads, or there's a thread that I read where said if your switch fails, you can take this apart and reflow the solder on these points right here. The thread that I saw that on is over on Vaporwall, which I'm sure you've seen if you've been looking at these things. And everything on the switch looks great. I don't see any excess juice. There was a little bit of moisture on this, but I'd say that's probably all within its normal specs. And then on the inside of the tube, which I hadn't looked in yet either, see it pretty much just goes all the way through. This is one piece unit. From here to here is all one piece, which I really like about this device. The other devices, like I have a Zen, the Zenesis Standard, and this part right here is actually bolted to the battery compartment on the Zenesis, which is not a problem, but I kind of like having this be, you know, completely solid, all one unit, not having to worry about it. So let's just clean this off real quick, make sure I get all nice and clean. Clean off my switch post. Now I'm not going to change anything on this. I just wanted to take it apart to look at it because I wanted to see how it all went together. And let's go ahead and reassemble. Now I did read on the forums that you put the button in first, so I'm going to hold this down. See, my finger's too big to go in. Use my pinky. As you see, got the button placement right there. So I'll put it with button facing down. It's still there. Get our switch. Line up the button to be facing down. And then we'll start easing it on in here. And it is pretty snug fit. See it starting to come out the tip. I'm just pushing on it with my finger, trying to make sure everything's still lined up in there. And it is getting very tight for me, which I'm assuming is that silicone that's around that. In fact, you know, I'm going to push this back out. I'm going to put a little bit of lubrication on it. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of juice. I know you're probably not supposed to, probably Vaseline or something like that, but I don't have any of that here with me. So I'm just going to put a little on here. I'm going to rub it in. I'm just doing this so it slides up through there. I wouldn't recommend using that. I'm going to take this thing back apart once I get home and put some Vaseline in, but just to get it back together and running, I figured I'd use a little bit of that. All right, got my button back in where it's supposed to be. And here, let me turn the focusing back off. Okay, autofocus off. All right, so buttons in. Line this guy up. Make sure I got it placed right. Okay, still placed right. Yeah, that's a little better. Still uses quite a bit of force. So now I've got it almost in, and I'm a little crooked. So what I'm going to do is just come in here. Oh yeah, once you get it in there, you can rotate your switch just to get it lined up properly with the button. And I need to go up a little more. I'm just pulling on it from the top actually now. Still a little off, so I need to push on the bottom. I'm using the back side of this now. My finger is getting a little tired. And there we go. I feel it. It's on there perfectly. Actually, I'm going to rotate it just a tiny bit here. There we go. Button's all back where it should be. You can see right at the top there. This thing fits together pretty nicely, and like I said, the button having it be an electric switch like that is just awesome because you don't have to go looking for the big button on the bottom, and you know those bottom buttons, after you use them all day long with your pinky, you can get a little tired pinky, which is no fun. And right now I have tendonitis in my right hand, which makes it even more exciting. This can get a little painful at times. So now I'm just going to put this nut back on. Got one of the bottom nuts, or one of the little nuts that I'm going to put on the bottom. And it's fighting me. There we go. All right, so we'll screw that down. And then I'm just going to snug it. I don't want it super tight, I don't think. Just go till it gets a little snug. I don't think it's supposed to be monstered on there. This feels pretty good. Take our spring with that little tail side down, the side where you can tell it was cut. And then our two washers. Clean these guys off a little bit here. This is probably going to be the hardest part of doing this right here, is putting these washers back on, because there is spring tension on there for sure. Okay, so grab your washers, stick them together, and get them kind of lined up over the hole. There we go, I've got that on, so I'm going to hold them down with a fingernail here. And heavens to bid, don't slip here. Have a good hard time finding those guys for sure. Take that little top nut. Sorry, I'm trying to watch this myself so I don't lose it. Top nut, if I can get it straight. Which it's fighting me. Uh-oh, almost lost it there. Okay, I'm going to use some needle nose I got sitting here. If I slip, I might cry. There we go. All right, that threaded in. As you can see, all back together up there on the top. Now, when I took this, or when I first got this, it was pretty much flush on the top, so I figured that's a good spot for it. You can kind of figure it out when you're putting your coil in on tension, because you put your coil in between the two washers there. So let's just kind of pop it back together. Slide my tank on. And I'm going to use the coil that came out of it with the wire. Hang on, let me put my screws in first. So these two little screws are just Phillip head, which is really nice, not having to dig around for an Allen wrench that's just the right size. Screw that side down. And when you're doing this, you can set up the switch so it's either on the right-hand side of your wick or on the left-hand side, depending on which hole you use on top. I like it on the right-hand side because when I'm vaping with my right hand, I use my thumb, which is standard for me. But then also, if you switch sides, you can just use your finger and pinch it like this and have it work for you. So let's see, we got that one in. Screw this other one in most of the way. Give yourself a little room to get your wire in there. Take your wire with your coil. Like I said, this is the one that came out of it, so I know it'll fit in here. If I can get everything lined up right. Put the top in first. On the top, I found that you just push with your fingernail, and it seems to go in pretty easily. As you can see, it slid right in, and then my negative, or my positive, this is reversed. Pretty close to where it should be. I'm going to have to poke at it with this while I tighten that down. Let's see, did I get it in? Yep. All right, so everything's back together on this guy. Now, another cool part about this is the batteries. Since this is a mod that has a sleeve, you can use the 18650 or the 18350. Here's a little 18350 I have. It is a non-protected IMR 18350, 800 milliamp hours. And as we know, the switch has the negative on the switch, so you do have to put it in the top side up. And then you just screw your bottom cap on without that extension sleeve in it. And you can see super small, really nice. Everything still works, thank God. And then you've got your sleeve for your 18650, which I've used both of these on here and it fits. You can see the non-protected is a lot shorter than the protected model that I run. This is a Mars Fire 18650 at 3000 milliamp, I think. 2600 milliamp hour, and it's a great battery, it works really well. And then this is a IMR 1500 milliamp, non-protected, standard old battery, generic, works well though. So in 18350, take my juice. Now, another thing that I really like about this device is filling it. When you go to fill this device, you don't have to use a syringe on it like on the Genesis, because the wick hole is what you're going into. So you do have a little bit of play, and you can just put it in and fill. With the Genesis, I've found if you try to do it with one of these, you get the juice just bubbling back up through the top because it doesn't go all the way into the tank. So that was another kind of key feature for me on this device. I really like that about it. I don't have to carry around a syringe when I'm out and about, and just pull out my little bottle if I run out and refill it. So there you have it. You see good vapor out of this guy. It's really an awesome device. I highly recommend it for anybody. Everything lines up just perfectly. I have another tank coming, a quartz tank that I got two. I got one in 21 millimeter and then one in 20 millimeter. So I might have to sand it down and modify it just to get the right placement for the coil on there, or the wick. But as you can see, got my button on the right-hand side of the device in relation to the wick, and I mean, it's perfect. So there it is in the 18350 mode. As you can see, super small. I mean, you can pretty much palm this thing. I don't have the longest fingers in the world or the biggest hands, but it fits really well. Very stealthy. Obviously, the vapor you can't get around. And then in 650 mode, you just take your bottom off. I'm going to use my my protected battery. Put it in negative up. Take your center extension piece. Screw that on. Screw on your end cap. Did I not get it right? And there we go. Such a good device. Highly recommend it. If you have any questions, feel free to post. Or if this is on YouTube, you do a video response if you want, because they're fun. And I appreciate your time and glad you guys came to check this out. Have a great one. If you do get one, you're going to love it. That's all there is to it. Once again, this is Crash with Crash Vapes, and we'll talk to you guys later.